All right, my friends, let me ask you something real quick. How are we feeling about Notion? If you know me at all, you know that I am a Notion nerd. I am obsessed with Notion. But you might be struggling with some of the exact same things I hear so many people struggling with. Things that are secretly holding you back, overcomplicating your Notion systems, and leaving you more overwhelmed than actually helped. Notion is meant to be that second brain, that one-stop shop, that single hub for you to run your business and your life. But you might be doing one of these 5 things wrong, but that is negatively impacting not only your relationship with Notion as a platform, but its ability to really help streamline and improve your life. Because I've seen so many people spend these ungodly amounts of time building the quote unquote perfect Notion setup, but still feeling like a hot mess express. And if that is you, this episode isn't just going to be helpful for you. It's freaking essential, okay? In the next however many minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what some of those mistakes are so that you can go from feeling like you're in digital chaos to feeling like you're creating something that doesn't suck. This is the Burnout Proof Podcast, where unapologetically ambitious high achievers come to redefine success, set fire to hustle culture, and build relentless businesses and lives without burning out. Let's do this. Hello, my friend, and welcome back to another kick-ass new episode of the Burnout Proof Podcast. We are diving into my favorite productivity app. Y'all know I'm a Notion nerd. Y'all know I'm obsessed with some Notion. I could talk about it all day, every day. I could play around in it all day, every day. What we're going to talk about today is 5 mistakes that I see people making inside of Notion. Before we dive into this, firstly, I want to make sure that if you are a solopreneur, especially if you're somebody who uses like Notion and AI and whatnot for your business, you need to head the link in the show notes right now. Go to coachellen.com/summit and register for next week's, it's happening next week, Solopreneur System Summit, okay? There are so many goodies in the summit, and we are not just talking about AI. We are talking about systems. We're talking about automations. We're talking about organizational systems. We're talking about scheduling. We're talking about client onboarding. So if you are a solopreneur and you know you need to level up your systems, maybe your system's curious, maybe you're just new and you want to make sure you're starting out right, check this summit out. Okay, link is all in the description below. But with that, let's go ahead and dive into our mistakes, okay? And some of these are things that I've done wrong. Some of these are things that I've seen my clients do wrong, my Burnout Proof business members do wrong. So let's dive in. The first major mistake is, number 1, overcomplicating your setup, okay? This is the first thing I see high achievers, entrepreneurs, just individuals do wrong in their Notion systems is overcomplicating their setup. You've got databases linked to more databases, like some side of like Russian nesting doll situation happening here. Like you might have added 15 properties to track things you'll never actually look at. And your dashboard might have so many moving parts that just opening Notion feels like you're preparing to launch the freaking space shuttle. That is not what we are going for, especially when you are a new Notion user. When you're a more advanced Notion user, like create databases and properties to your heart's content. But even then, I would say you probably need to go into your Notion system and audit it on occasion. I actually find what's really fun for me is because I update the Ultimate Notion Digital Planner every single year right before Black Friday, which I'm working on right now. Don't you worry. I always go through and I update it. In the process of updating it, I'm kind of simultaneously, I'm updating it to match my systems. And I'm constantly refining my systems. But I digress. This complexity isn't just annoying, especially when you're a new Notion user. It's actively contributing to your burnout. Your like every unnecessary field that you have in your Notion system, every complicated formula, every linked database is another decision point for an already taxed brain. Simple is actually better. I think the thing that we don't appreciate is that when your system becomes too complex to use consistently, you abandon it altogether, which I actually find leaves you worse off than when you started. You're basically color coordinating chaos at this point, right? Now, as I say this, I want to acknowledge the fact that I know so many of us, when we get started in Notion, we buy the big template. We buy as one of my, she's actually a listener to this podcast and she's one of the members in my Burnout Proof Business coaching program. She always calls my ultimate Notion template the Mac Daddy template, because it's got everything in it. I love that template. I'm obsessed with that template. I think that template is amazing. It's a complicated template. And I know sometimes when we are like going all in on a system, when we're going all in on Notion, for example, we want to invest and get the big kahuna, the ultimate template. And I'm not saying don't do that. But what I am saying, and I think this is a really important thing to remember, is we need to sometimes start with a simple foundation and scale up gradually. Like maybe you bought the big template, you love the big template, you see the potential of the big template for your, future systems. Just don't start by trying to learn every nitty gritty little detail in the big template. Ask yourself, what is the most important kind of, you almost think of it as the minimum viable thing in this system that I need right now, not in 6 months, not for your dream business in, with 12 team members and a dog right now. That I think is the most important thing for us to think about when we are getting started in a system is what do I need right now? What is the thing that is going to impact me and move the needle the most and take the biggest burden off of my brain right now and focus on that. We can layer in complication later. Okay. But that is the place to start. So if you need like a simplification process, this is something I will be kind of talking about in the Solopreneur System Summit in my Burnout Business program. So yes, this is a shameless plug. Identify your immediate pain points. Like what specific problem are you trying to solve? Is it client management? Is it content planning? Focus on that one area first, not 17 areas. One, okay? And then focus on optimizing the system for that. Maybe it's just learning how your current template that you bought works. Maybe it's setting up the system that would solve 80% of that problem. Start there, okay? You can always make it fancier later. You can always add complexity later, but right now we need function over form. Okay. And I think sometimes when we start with complexity, we lose that function. Okay. So then the last thing I will say with this mistake, use this system, like whatever this minimum system is that you're focusing on to fix that one problem, use it for 2 weeks before adding complexity. I would even argue that maybe you need to use it for a month before adding complexity. This is really crucial because when we live with the simple version, we get very clear on what's working and what's not, but we got to live with that simple version before we start enhancing it. Okay. So you got to get comfortable with the basics before you start adding in bells and whistles. So that right there is mistake number one, overcomplicating your setup, especially if you are a new Notion user. Do not do that from the get-go. It's going to do nothing but hurt you. Mistake number two. Oh, this is a big one. Using templates without customization. A lot of people, when they first start using Notion, and I've made this recommendation, so I understand why people do this. We download a ton of templates. We probably download more templates than we probably should. But this is the problem. We treat those templates as a complete solution rather than as a starting point. Like if you've downloaded one of my Notion templates, if you've downloaded, a gorgeous template from somebody else that has all these bells and whistles, but doesn't actually match your workflow and doesn't actually match your business needs, that's a problem. It's like buying someone else's custom wedding dress. Like it might be beautiful, but it wasn't made for your body. It wasn't tailored to you. That's the problem with using templates without customization. It might look impressive. It might feel like, oh, this is going to fix all of my needs, but it won't fit right. Like you end up working around your system instead of having your system work for you. And what that does is it creates friction in your daily processes and eventually you abandon your system because you get frustrated with it. And don't even get me started on template hoarding, okay? Like I know how many templates you have sitting in your Notion system right now. I have a tip for how to organize those too. So shoot me a DM on Instagram if you want to know what it is. But I know how many templates you've been hoarding in your Notion systems right now. So consider that your guilty as charged call out right now. So what we need to do here, our fix here is use templates as your jumping off point. Take time to evaluate which parts of the system serve your specific needs and then customize accordingly. Remove template elements that don't align with your workflow. Be ruthless about this. I tell my clients all the time when they download one of my Notion templates, and I feel like a lot of times we are afraid to delete parts of a template. We do a lot. If you want Notion for like your business, join Burnout Proof Business. It's basically a Notion program for business owners. We talk about so much about Notion in that program. Basically, everybody inside it is building their Notion systems like for their business. So whenever I'm talking to people inside of Burnout Proof Business and they see a part of a template that they don't like, I'm always just like, delete it. If we want to add it back in, I can help you do that. I can help you do that easily. Linked database view. It's going to be super easy, but we need to customize and we need to be ruthless about eliminating the things that don't work. So here's a framework that can help you customize your template. Firstly, keep only what serves you. Okay. Be ruthless about removing sections, properties, whatever that don't directly support your workflow and how you work. If you do not need it, it's gone. Bye-bye. Get out of here. Next, rename it to match your terminology. Change labels, change buttons, change property names, categories, whatever, to reflect language you actually use in your business. If you call them projects, not engagements, or vice versa, okay, change that in your systems, call them projects. Okay. And then lastly, start with one view. Many templates come with multiple views. Okay. Start with just one that matters most to your process. You can always add more later when you're comfortable with the system. Okay. So that is mistake number two, using templates without customization. Mistake number three, expecting Notion mastery too quickly. This is another thing I see a lot of people make mistakes on when it comes to using Notion. You're trying to build an entire system at once. You get overwhelmed, leading to abandonment or constant restarts in building your Notion systems. You expect to master Notion overnight and create the perfect system immediately. Spoiler alert, it ain't gonna happen, my friend. It ain't. The only reason I got pretty good at Notion very quickly is I basically dedicated like my entire holiday season. One year, like the couple weeks that I had off over Christmas, I was just learning Notion the entire time. I know I'm a nerd. It was fun for me. I will admit that. But I just spent like 2 weeks in like a YouTube vortex of learning Notion and I got good at it pretty quickly. I'm also way tech savvier than I've ever given myself credit for. But I do think this is a really, really important call out because a lot of us have an all or nothing approach when it comes to learning a tool like Notion. And what it does is it just creates this cycle of overwhelm and disappointment. You invest hours setting up a complex system, you get frustrated when it doesn't work perfectly. Then you abandon it and then you repeat the process a few weeks later and it wastes time, it wastes energy. It's like trying to run a marathon when you've never jogged around the block. You're setting yourself up for failure before you even begin. And that is not what we want here. So play the long game when it comes to learning Notion, okay? Master one aspect of your system before adding more complexity. Understand that your Notion system is going to evolve as you use it. This is a feature, not a bug. Your system should grow with you, not strangle you. So if you're struggling with this one or you want to kind of focus on this aspect, I recommend using this kind of progressive mastery approach. Firstly, start with one core function, choose one area, client management, project tracking. Maybe you're managing your team. If you're a manager in a corporation, that's what I did inside when I was a manager is I managed my team inside of Notion. Focus on that and build that first, master that before you move on to the next thing. Okay. Next, use it consistently for 2 to 3 weeks. I've already said that previously, but you've got to get comfortable with that one component before you add more. Make it a habit before you complicate things. And then lastly, add complexity one feature at a time. Gradually enhance your system based on real needs you discover through use, not based on what looks cool in somebody else's YouTube tutorial, which a lot of us, myself included, I'm raising my hand here, are victims of doing when it comes to our Notion systems. Okay. So that is mistake number three. So to recap, we've talked about myth number one, which was all about overcomplicating your setup. Myth number two, which is about using templates without any customization. And myth number three, which was all about expecting Notion mastery to come way too quickly. Okay. Now, myth number four is something I also feel like a lot of people are guilty of, burning everything down every time you want to start over. Okay. We have a tendency, and I've done this in the past as well, to demolish all of our existing systems when they need improvement. And this is a no go. Don't do this because you lose so much valuable information. You lose valuable data, you lose valuable structure. You get frustrated with one aspect of your system and decide to trash everything and start from scratch. Like that doesn't make any sense, right? It's the digital equivalent of burning down your house because you don't like your kitchen cabinets, right? So like this is kind of like the scorched earth approach. And what it means is we're constantly rebuilding rather than refreshing. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel where it's all about me refreshing my Notion. A lot of it's aesthetics. I will fully admit to that. But like it's a refresh to my Notion system, not a complete rebuild to my Notion system. Okay. And that is what we want. We want to refresh and refine as opposed to completely rebuild because otherwise you lose that historical data. You abandon parts of your system that might have actually been working and you create this perpetual cycle of setup rather than productive use. It's exhausting. And honestly, like it's a massive waste of time and brain power, frankly. So instead, make incremental improvements instead of starting from scratch. Okay. So you can use an archive feature for outdated content or systems that you're not using anymore, dashboards that you're not using anymore, rather than deleting it. You don't want to lose an old system that you may or may not come back to. You can create it like a sandbox page to test ideas before you're implementing them. Evolution, not revolution. Something that I actually do inside of my Notion system is I have this thing that I use that I actually got the idea for from a CEO boot camp I took about a year ago with my girl, Kelsey Knutson. And she talks about this thing called a tackle list. And I use that tackle list, which is completely separate from my to-do list because it's just meant to be a place where I store ideas as opposed to tasks. And in that tackle list, I am just keeping track of the ideas for Notion systems that I have. Okay. So this is another way that we can kind of refine, set aside that time, and periodically. We don't want to be constantly changing our Notion systems, which I will again admit I'm guilty of. But that can be a place where we can kind of set aside the ideas that we have without necessarily feeling like we need to constantly be rebuilding and changing our Notion system. So identify the specific pain point. What exactly isn't working? Is it structure? Is it the properties? Is it something else? I think the more specific we can get about what's driving us nuts in our Notion system, the better, because then we can actually make strategic changes. Duplicate before you modify, create a copy of your current setup before making changes. Though I will admit, I don't necessarily always recommend like making a copy of like a database. I always recommend storing your databases on like their own database page. So then you just can make linked views wherever you need them. And whenever you have a view, you can just delete that and rebuild it later if you need to. So, but if you have like a dashboard, I would not recommend deleting that dashboard. Just archive it, just like hide it somewhere so it's not like in the way. And then yeah, test changes in isolation. Like you can implement your new idea in like a contained area, like on one single dashboard before rolling it out like system wide. Okay, think of it kind of like you're doing a pilot program. That's essentially what we're doing here. But I think that's another big thing that we do is we feel the need to burn everything down when there might just be some tweaks that need refinement. And with that, that brings us to mistake number 5 a lot of people make in Notion. I'm about to call some people out when I say this one. Believing that your Notion systems are going to solve all your problems. Sometimes we treat our systems as this sort of magical solution for all of our productivity issues, sometimes all of our life issues. I often say we procrastinate, and I'm super guilty of it. I'm like not saying I never do this, but we treat systems as this like a magical solution for productivity. And the fact of the matter is, the issues that we are thinking of might actually stem from larger life circumstances or habits. Like tools like Notion can fix a lot of things, but you can't expect a tool to fix a behavioral or business model problem. Notion isn't fairy dust. It cannot fix everything. And I think this sort of a mindset can become really harmful because it creates this cycle of tool hopping and disappointment. I actually think one of the reasons that Notion works so well for me is I stopped hopping. I stopped changing tools all the time. I stopped falling for shiny object syndrome. And yes, I think a bigger reason for that is because I saw the potential of Notion to fix a lot of the issues that I was having. But sometimes we just need to pick. Sometimes we just need to commit. Sometimes we need to figure out how to make the system we're working in work instead of feeling like we need to hop to a new system, like it's going to be this magic pill to all of our problems. Notion doesn't magically solve a deeper issue like poor boundaries or, pricing problems or burnout patterns. Sometimes we blame the tool instead of addressing the root cause. It's like putting a band-aid on a broken leg and wondering why you still can't run. Like that's not the issue here. And sometimes we blame the tool. So we got to with this one, we get really, really honest with ourselves about what a tool can and cannot fix. Use Notion as support for good habits rather than a replacement for them. Sometimes the issue isn't your system, it's how you're using it or what you're using it for. So sometimes this is the reality and like gut check we need. Define the actual problem. Is it truly a system issue or is it something deeper that you're perhaps kind of avoiding, like a boundary or business structure? Get real with yourself here. And then once you identify that, create systems that support behavior change. And this might be the place where I'm using systems loosely. It might be designing your Notion system to reinforce your habits you're trying to build. Like I feel like I have a lot of things in my Notion system that now kind of shout at me habits, habits, habits. Ellen, these are the habits you are trying to engage in. And they keep them very like front of mind, even mindset changes that I keep very front of mind because of how I've designed my Notion setup. I've designed it to reinforce the habits I'm trying to build, but I'm not actually using it as a substitute for doing the work. Nothing's going to substitute for doing the work. I could blame Notion for my bad habits, but it's not Notion's fault, frankly. And then lastly, build in reflection points. Y'all know I'm a big fan of weekly reviews, sitting down and doing self reflection. Or like self awareness is a superpower when it comes to not only your Notion systems, but also with burnout prevention, right? So schedule regular time to assess not only your mindsets, your behaviors, your habits, but also if your systems are supporting your goals. Systems need maintenance, just like everything else in life. They are dynamic, they're going to need to be changed over time, but they are also not the end all be all fix. And I think that's the big thing we need to remember. Now, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. Like, don't try to fix all of these mistakes at once. Okay, that would be ironic, actually. So, here's a way I would approach this instead. For like, if this first week, I actually think this would be a good thing to do leading up to the summit. Once again, shameless plug. Audit your system, audit your current setup, identify which of these 5 mistakes is most damaging to your productivity right now, and just pick one to focus on fixing first. Okay. Then maybe next week, you apply the fix for that one mistake, use the frameworks I've shared. Baby steps are still steps forward. Okay. So focus on those small changes first. And then perhaps the week after, week 3, reassess and tackle the next most pressing mistake, rinse and repeat. Okay. Small, consistent improvements are how to build systems that actually stick without overwhelming yourself. Okay. This isn't about getting it perfect, it's about making it better than it was yesterday. That's the bottom line. So if this is resonating with you and you're ready to transform your relationship with Notion, really optimize your Notion systems, I've got something for you. I've already talked about it. I'm hosting the Solopreneur System Summit next week. I'll be diving deep into Notion optimization, particularly building an AI-driven Notion system alongside 20 plus other experts. Not everybody's going to be talking about Notion. We're going to be talking about other automations, client onboarding, digital organization. If you've got a lot of AI tools that you're juggling, we've got a brand, like somebody who just like literally popped into my world this week and is like, nah, I can turn stuff around. I want to be a part of your summit if that works. So we've got somebody coming in to talk about AI organization and how to organize your AI tools. Okay. So like in addition to my session on Notion AI and AI driven Notion operating systems, you'll get access to experts teaching everything from client systems to digital organization to custom GPTs and a lot of stuff in between. So this is your chance to level up all your systems, not just Notion. And the summit is completely free to attend. But if you want extended access to it, like you get a 5-day ticket to the summit when you join for free. But if you want extended access to it, where you get all of my exclusive Notion templates, my bundles, my AI agent documentation, all of that, I include the exact systems that I use, like my Burned Out Biz Owner bundle that has now been AI optimized, as well as training on how to really start implementing AI into your Notion systems. You can grab the all access pass. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put the link for that down in the show notes as well. And yes, these templates are meant to be customized. I practice what I preach, my friends, and you can pop into my community to get help with some of that. So to register for free, go to coachellen.com/summit. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link below. Check the link in the show notes. Don't miss this opportunity to finally get your systems set up and working for you instead of working against you. And again, this is geared towards solopreneurs. So with that, remember, your Notion workspace should be reducing your mental load, not adding to it. Start by simplifying, customize templates thoughtfully, build your systems gradually, make incremental improvements, and be realistic about what Notion can and cannot solve. This isn't about perfection. It's about progress. And I know that's cliche, but it's so damn true here, okay? Progress over perfection. So which of these 5 mistakes resonated with you most? I'd love to hear from you. DM me on Instagram. I'm at Coach Ellen, again, ELLYN. Let me know which one you're going to tackle first. You can honestly, this is another reason to go to coachellen.com/summit is get plugged into my community, because that's a great place for me to like share resources with you, answer your questions, etc. And I really want to hear like, what are the things that you need right now? I'm genuinely very curious. I love hearing your aha moments. So with that, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Burnout Proof Podcast. If you found this helpful, again, please take a moment to rate, review the show on Apple, on Spotify. Give us a 5-star review, subscribe, follow. It helps other achievers find this content, and it makes my day when I read your feedback and see another 5-star review pop up on Spotify. So with that, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I'm so grateful for you. And until next time, stay relentless, achiever. You've got this. I'll talk to you later. Bye.